Hi YouTube, please give me a moment while I connect to Facebook. We'll be getting started momentarily. And I think we should be live on Facebook. Hi everybody, welcome to the Strategic Swing Trader. I am Sami Abu Saad, Director of Education at T3 Live. Hope you're doing well. We're gonna get started right away by taking a look at the market and then going over the swing ideas for next week. But before we start, as always, a standard required disclaimer to let you know that trading is risky and that whatever we discuss in this video is for educational purposes only. If you'd like to download a copy of my free ebook, link for that is in the description below. All right, but without further ado, let's turn to the charts and get started. We have a lot to cover. If you find benefit in today's video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. Also, if you're not a subscriber yet, be sure to hit the subscribe button and for more trading education videos. And lastly, last thing I'm going to say here is if you have any questions, want to reach out, connect, whatever, email us, info@t3live.com, info@t3live.com. Here we go. So we're still, we're still the same as last week. So that was 5 days ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So last week we were here and I suspected we might actually fail on this breakout. I told you I had 1,000 shares of the SQQ also short. It looks more likely to be the case that we're gonna fail, and this is going to be proved to be a breakout failure, but we still need to break down. Okay, the market looks lower, but it still needs to break down. The market looks even more bearish on if you look at the SPY and the IWM. IWM is the most bearish of the three, then the SPY, then the Qs. Now, what if we go back up and take out Friday's high? Then all bets are off. Then we'll have a daily buy setup. So it's not safe to be bearish yet unless you got in at the top. And it's not safe to be bullish yet. Over Friday's high, we're probably higher. Under the base, we're probably lower. Now, if we break the base, then we will also trigger the weekly sell setup. And I think we will have the next leg down on the weekly time frame, which means the coming weeks are all going to be bearish. Just like we from the top, we've been selling off every time we rallied back up, and it didn't end for a few weeks, at least several weeks. This will be the next leg down if we break below last week's range, below the base on the daily chart. Okay, so it would be below 391.60 on the, and we close below it too on the SPY. On the Qs, it would be below 278.78 and close below it. For example, we did break under the pivot here, but we never closed below it. We want to see a nice, solid, clean break. Okay, and if we get it, then I think that will start the next leg down on the weekly time frame. This is the Qs. I showed you the SPY weekly. I showed you also the IWM. They all look alike. Okay, right now the IWM is the weakest. Right now, overall the Qs has been the weakest and the SPY has been the strongest. But right now, it's the other way around. The IWM is the weakest, then followed by the S&P 500, followed by the Qs. It doesn't matter. They all follow each other in the end. And I think that's more likely to happen than not, to break down. More likely to break down than not. So short, but we'll talk about the shorts in a minute because I do have specific ideas, as well as the SPY and the IWM. We'll talk about the numbers in a minute. But for next week, again and again, we have to, if we break down, then that's bearish. If we go back up over Friday's high, that would be bullish. Okay, so it's very simple. All right, here's some ideas. They look pretty good, but we have to, it depends on what the market does. 1, 2, 3 on the band, BAND, looks really good. If you want to not get shaken out, then I would put the stop under 20 because it could be a long-term play. Okay, if you look at the monthly, this is a nice monthly. Looks higher to here, to 50. But again, the big question mark is the market. BGCP is a weekly 1, 2, 3. So check it out. So long over that doji bar, stop below it, 456 by 456 by 437. Very tight stop. Target about 550. So it has good R to R. BHC was also on last week's video. It never triggered, so it still looks good. Over 825. Over the base, stop under the pivot, and target is about 1050. So it's not a very high R to R play. CBAY, CBAY I think is a daily buy setup, which it is. It's a weekly 1, 2, 3 pattern. So over last week's high, stop under last week's low, and it looks higher. I mean, it looks pretty good to here, but it would need to trigger, and it's probably not going to trigger unless the market turns bullish. So a lot of these plays, this is what I like about swing trading, is a lot of times I will have orders for the long, not for every single one of them, but for the favorite ones. I'll have a bunch of orders for the long positions, I'll have a bunch of orders for the short positions, and if the market breaks down, only the short positions will trigger. Only the, you know, the bearish bets orders trigger. And then if the market pops, only the longs trigger. So, you know, the market is kind of does the work for you. You don't even have to pick a direction. You can go with either direction, and most of the time, the vast majority of the bullish orders would trigger if the market popped, and vice versa. A GOSS is more of a gap fade. We had a big gap down, and it looks like it bottomed, so I like it higher over 230 with a stop under 199, and target would be the red bar's high, 350. So over 230, target 350. PCG, it's been on my watches for a while. Admittedly, it hasn't gotten going yet, but it really looks good, especially on the monthly and the weekly charts. Let me see what kind of scaling I have. I mean, so here's regular scaling. I mean, that looks really nice to up here to $23 or so on the PCG. RCM, climactic monthly. Weekly is kind of a 1, 2, 3. It's not exactly 1, 2, 3, but long over last week's high, stop under last week's low, and has room to, I would say, to 1490, let's say 1450 to be safe. So it has plenty of room. RCM. SHPH is a daily, weekly base breakout. So over 340 long, 340, stop under $2. So let's take a look at the hourly chart real quick. There's 2 entries on it. One would be just over the pivot right here, over 295 or something. Let's check. It's 291. That's front half, and then the back half over 340. Stop would be under $2. So it's a big stop. If we look at the daily, it has plenty of room. The ones that collapse like this, like the SHPH did from 120 to $2, they don't really go back up easily. Most of the time, every attempt to go higher fails. So I'm not saying it's going to go up to 40, but could it pop to, you know, to $7? This little bar's high, to maybe $9. Sure. So I think it could. I think it easily can. TPX has been very, very bullish. I was in it, and then I don't know where I trailed out, maybe under this bar's low. I don't remember. But I actually played it for a couple of days long, and I don't remember the trail. But at any rate, it looks higher still. It's held up really well. So over last week's high, which is 32.72, stop under 30.50, 30.49 as a long-term play. As a long-term play. Okay? Every single bullish play comes with an asterisk next to it, because it just depends on what the market does. If the market drops like I think it's going to, then these plays will not trigger. If they trigger, they will probably be, you know, they'll trail out quickly. WDAY, or workday, I think. Yeah, workday. 1, 2, 3 plus a transition A on the weekly chart. So long over 173, stop under 159.90, and target about $200. Has a lot of room. And then last but not least are the Chinese ETFs, which I've been telling you about for a long time. They almost tripled, I think. No, just up 150% from the lows. Almost up 150, from 19 something to 48. That's about 150%. Now, it's pretty late, but check out the 1, 2, 3. We like the 1, 2, 3 to form in the direction of the trend, like this one right here, BGCP, in the direction of the uptrend, or the band on the daily chart. But it looks good to me. Over, if you're not in already, over $51, stop under 43, target about 100. Okay, this is a triple leveraged FXI. Okay, FXI is the ETF for China. This would be the triple leveraged FXI. Okay, CWEB is the triple leveraged tech ETF for China. So long would be over $57, stop under 47.70, and target looks like at least 100. Could be 200 also. Long-term plays. These two make up the bulk of what I have in my IRA account. I have a couple other positions, such as Guild, such as TLT. I think I have 272 shares in it. Not GLD, Guild, GILD. You know, it's been amazing, but unfortunately, it's my smallest position. Unfortunately, I ran out of funds in my IRA account. At any rate, so in the description of the video, I have a bunch of Chinese stocks if you want to check them out. But I didn't want to go over the whole thing, so I just went over the ETFs. But there's a bunch of individual China stocks that are in the description of the video that look even better than the actual ETFs. Okay, so check them out. Now on to the bearish list. We have a lot. What can I say? There's just a lot of good looking shorts. Here's the weekly on the AMD. That looks better than the market. That's a sell setup. It triggered already, unfortunately. The short should have been under 70.15. It's already at 68.50, so it's a little bit late. I still like it lower under 68.50. Stop, but it's a bit aggressive. So short right here, this will need the market to break down and not go right back up, to break down cleanly and continue lower. So short under that last shelf on the daily chart. That's the AMD. CCL, same exact idea, same exact setup. Weekly sell setup, the weakest cruise line by far, and it's triggering a sell setup. You can look at NCLH also. That's the second weakest, but it's above the 20. RCL is the strongest, way above the 20 on the weekly. But it should come back down to maybe $50 or so. But I would go with the CCL first because it's triggering a legitimate weekly sell setup. CINC is a weekly 1, 2, 3. This is a thinly traded stock, but it gapped to the all-time low. I don't know if my chart is wrong on this stock, CINC, but short under this bar's low, which is 1140. Stop over 1273, and I don't know what the target is. This chart might be a little bit off. Check it out on your own platform, okay? That's the CINC. CM, just as a disclaimer, already an open position, but it as a short, but already has a 1, 2, 3. So short under last week's low, stop above it, and target the new lows. Okay, the daily lows. A Coinbase, which I was in, I played it on the breakout on the daily chart over here, sold half on the gap up, and I don't know where I got out of the back half, but I held it for a while, I think, and it started to break down, got out of it, and I hated getting out of it because I thought it surely bottomed, and it didn't. Look at the daily now. It definitely looks lower. That's Coinbase. So under the daily lows, the tightest stop would be over this little bar's high, which is 40. Looks like 43.90. Let's say $44. Let's take a look at the weekly. Weekly looks lower as well. But I'm always worried, when shorting stocks that are down so much that they might, and using a tight stop, that they might snap back a little bit, stop you out, and then continue lower. So just be careful. But it looks lower to me. Okay. EQT is oil. I told you about oil for 2 weeks in a row now. So I hope you did some. I hope you shorted. I told you about XOM that it could be the all-time high. Short under this bar's high, stop above it, and that was last week's video. Actually, I said under the 109, I think, 109.20, 109.60, stop over this little base, and then the VET is already, going, so we'll see. I have a couple of other oil stocks, VET, I have TELL, which was also in last week's video, by the way. There it is. So it looks beautiful, by the way, but I think it's too late to short. But it looks lower to 150. Now the EQT is not too late. Short under this bar's low, which is 35.35. Stop would be over 36.62. Okay, 1, 2, 3 on the daily chart. Ford is a weekly sell setup. Let's take a look. It is, but sloppy. I shorted Ford earlier this year, which was an amazing play as a 1, 2, 3 right here. Short, and it got to the target, which was at the bottom. The exact, this bar or that bar, I don't know which bar, was the target. 11.15, so it must have been that bar. So it turned out to be the exact bottom. I got lucky, just lucky with the exit. Now has another setup. I like quite a bit. Short, stop. Now, where should the stop be? It should be up here. That's the safest stop. But if you put it up there, I mean, that's your risk zone, and that's your reward zone. It's very little reward to risk. So that's why I'm suggesting using the tighter stop just over last week's high, over the last few bars actually, not the whole week, over 13.40, and short would be under $13 and target about 11.70 or so. So that's the idea on the forward. HLF is a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 entries on it. One would be under 12.44. The stop would be 13.15, and then the second entry would be under $12. One can choose the tighter, the first entry, and you go with the tighter stop. One can also say, you know what, I'm not too sure about the market, or I have a lot of shorts already, and go with the wider stop and wait for it to break this bar's low. Or you can do half and half, like half, you say, well, I want to short 1,000 shares. Okay, then half 500 shares under 12.44, 500 shares under $12. You see what I mean? So it's up to you. LGFA is it looks lower, but more so on the hourly chart. So if it comes back down and breaks down, this will be a green bar ignored. So short, stop. Okay, I like it. RIVN is looking lower. For a while I thought RIVN bottomed, and I thought it was higher. RIVN looks lower. So here's the RIVN weekly chart. Definitely looks lower. Most of these are going to need the market, unless it's oil, unless it's a sector that's on its own page. Gold maybe, crypto maybe a little bit on its own page, will follow Bitcoin more than the market, but the vast majority of these will need the market to drop. So RIVN short under the base, stop over 32.60 and target the all-time low on RIVN. RXT is the daily 1, 2, 3. Very, very bearish downtrend on the weekly. If we were to go back to that chart, look at that, super bearish. Here's the daily. So short under this bar's low, which is 311, stop over 350, and then target, I don't know if it's at all-time low or where it's at. Yeah, all-time low. No predetermined target. It would just have to be managed. SI, amazing weakness. Normally I don't like to short after a drop, a big drop and an increase in volume. That suggests a bottom usually. So we have a lot of volume, but on this stock it's not able to bounce at all. So short under the base, stop above it, and then target the base on that daily chart. Most of the climactic moves, this was a climactic move, when you get that parabolic top and the stock starts to drop, it comes all the way back down to where it came from. So the target on this would be about $13, I think. Yep, 14, let's say 14, 15. So it looks lower still. Again, the vast majority of these climactic moves come all the way back down. Now here's the market, the SPXL in this case, as a short. Or what's the inverse ETF? One can also do the inverse ETF long instead of short. But SPXL would be a short under 66.87 with a stop over 69.90, so over $70. So short under 66.87, stop over 69.90, or the inverse ETF, which would be, what would it be? I forget. SPXU? Yeah, SPXU. So it would be long over that bar's high, stop right here. Okay, and then the same with the TNA, or the inverse ETF for the IWM. So short under the little shelf, stop above 36.60 and then target the prior low, the all-time low, because I'm expecting this to be the new, you know, again, to give us another leg down on the weekly chart, just like we've had every other time we rallied back up. And then last but not least is the unit, which is off the daily, maybe the hourly chart. So it's an hourly base breakdown, short under the base, stop above it. Admittedly, it's not very, very good, but it still looks lower. So a lot of short ideas to pick from, a lot of long ideas, and I didn't even share with you the entire list. A lot of long ideas to pick from. Best of luck to you. If you'd like to find out what I am going to pick for my own account and for the newsletter, join us. Join the Strategic Swing Trader newsletter, and link for that is in the description below. With that said, thank you so much for sticking around till the end. Please be sure to hit the like button. And if you have any questions, reach out by emailing us at info@t3live.com. info@t3live.com. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks, everybody.